Don't expect us. Stay away. That's what my father wrote to me on Christmas. So I did as I was told and didn't go. Later, my uncle sent me a video. In it, someone asked, "Why do we need this worthless person? He's nothing." My parents and sister were laughing in the background. Little did they know, in just 2 days, they'd regret every word. Let's start there. I had every reason to refuse when Uncle Joe called me the week before Christmas, asking if I'd come to the family gathering. But I hesitated just long enough for him to notice. That brief pause gave him hope. He said everyone would be at my parents' place and that it might be time to let go of the past. He mentioned Daniel would be there and even praised how well he'd turned out despite everything. I don't know why, but I agreed. Maybe I just didn't want to spend another Christmas alone. It's been 2 years since I lost my wife and son. 2 years of avoiding holidays, birthdays, and any celebration. 2 years of silence in a home that once echoed with laughter. They died in December, and a part of me froze with them. So yes, Christmas? I hated it. But I drove upstate anyway, and picked up Uncle Joe and Aunt Lily. They were waiting outside with a pie and a gift, acting as if nothing was wrong. I didn't ask, and they didn't bring it up. The drive was quiet. Snow had just begun to fall, light and peaceful. For a moment, it almost felt normal. Then Uncle Joe's phone rang. He put it on speaker. It was my father. "Where are you?" Uncle Joe said we were 10 minutes away and that I was driving. Silence followed. Then my father asked, "Do you have anything to say to him?" Uncle Joe looked confused. Before he could respond, my father said, "Don't expect us. Stay away." Then he hung up. I didn't say a word. I pulled over and stared at the trees. I heard Aunt Lily whisper something to Uncle Joe, and the hum of the heater filled the silence. After a moment, I simply said, "Let's keep driving." The mood in the car shifted. When we arrived at my parents' house, my father was already outside, drink in hand, as if he'd been waiting to turn me away. Uncle Joe got out first and tried to reason with him. I stayed in the car and watched. It didn't go well. My father pushed him back, shouting loud enough for me to hear. Then he glared at the car as if he wanted to set it on fire with me inside. I didn't move. After a minute, I drove away. I spent Christmas Eve alone in a rented cabin by the lake. No decorations, no tree, just the cold outside and the familiar pain inside. I was sitting on the couch, staring at an unopened bottle, when Uncle Joe sent the video. I didn't watch it right away. I thought it might be something nice, maybe Daniel saying hello or footage of them opening gifts. But curiosity got the better of me. The video was from their living room. Daniel must have recorded it secretly. My father's voice was clear. "Why do we need this worthless person? He's nothing." My mother laughed first, then my sister joined in. It sounded rehearsed. They were all smiling, enjoying themselves as they insulted me. I sat there, letting the words sink in. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have expected, was that in 2 days, they'd regret every word. Because there was one thing they'd forgotten, one thing I'd never mentioned. I had been paying for everything, quietly, behind the scenes. Every dollar for the house renovations, every check for my sister's new apartment, every gift they bragged about giving her. It was all my money. And now, I was done. But that was just the beginning. I didn't wait. The moment I saw that video, something inside me shifted. Not dramatically, but quietly, like letting go of a rope I'd been clinging to for too long. I opened my laptop and emailed the contractor working on my sister's apartment. "Stop all work. Cancel everything. If anything's non-refundable, send me the bill and let them handle it." I didn't explain. I didn't owe them that anymore. The apartment had always been a lie. My sister told everyone our parents had given it to her, making it sound like some grand gesture when in reality, every penny came from me. I was the invisible bank, the fixer, the one always expected to help without complaint. By the time I finished the email, I had 10 missed calls, most from my sister, a few from my mother, and one from an unknown number. I ignored them all. Around noon, Uncle Joe called. I answered because he was the only one in the family who wasn't putting on an act. He didn't ask how I was. He just sighed and said, "You saw the video." Apparently, Daniel had shown it to them again after dinner, hoping they'd realize how cruel they'd been. Instead, my mother tried to laugh it off, calling it a joke. My sister rolled her eyes and said I needed therapy. My father just stood there, silent, then walked upstairs without a word. No apology, nothing. That would have been enough. But then Daniel announced he was leaving. He told them to their faces that he was done pretending their family was normal, that the only one who ever treated him like a person was me. That stung. Aunt Lily tried to calm things down, but Daniel had already packed a bag. He called me from a gas station and asked if I could pick him up. I didn't hesitate. He didn't ask many questions when I arrived. He just got in the car, stared out the window, and thanked me when we got back to the cabin. I gave him a blanket and told him the couch pulled out into a bed. No speeches, no forced bonding, just real. Around midnight, as I was half asleep, he spoke up. "You really cut them off?" I said yes. I meant it. He nodded and said, "Ben, I'm in." I wasn't sure what he meant, but the next morning I found out. He was on the phone with my mother. She must have called, expecting him to beg for forgiveness or convince me to fix things. Instead, Daniel asked her if she ever wondered why the adoption agency refused to place another child with them after him. Silence. Then he dropped the truth. He'd found reports from teachers, neighbors, and counselors, records of emotional neglect and passive abuse. The only reason nothing came of it was because Daniel had lied, afraid of being sent back into the system. I listened as he tore down their last illusion of being good people. And still, they didn't apologize. They just hung up. That's when I knew they'd never change. But they had no idea the worst was yet to come. Because there was one thing they didn't know. The apartment wasn't in my sister's name. It was in mine. 2 hours later, I got a text from my sister. "What did you do?" "The contractors just left. I have no kitchen." I didn't reply. She sent more messages, angry, then pleading. I let them pile up. What she didn't know was that I wasn't just stopping the renovations. I was taking the apartment away. That morning, I called my lawyer and told him to list it for rent. I didn't want to sell it. I wanted her to know, every time she walked by, that it could have been hers if she'd just been decent. By noon, the listing was live. By dinner, I had 3 offers. Meanwhile, my parents' world was crumbling. Daniel forwarded me texts. My mother had called CPS, claiming I'd kidnapped him. The agent who called me was baffled. Daniel was an adult, free to live wherever he chose. The case was closed before it began. That night, I told Daniel I had one final plan, one that would burn every bridge for good. He asked what it was. I said, "You'll see tomorrow." The next day, I went to their old house, the one they'd sold to buy their current home. I'd co-signed their new mortgage because their credit was too low. What they didn't realize was that I still had control over certain accounts tied to that house. I triggered a freeze, flagging their recent renovations as suspicious activity. The bank locked their accounts within hours. They couldn't pay contractors, landscapers, or even their property taxes. That night, my mother called 5 times. I ignored her. Then she texted, "We need to talk. It's serious." I replied with one line, "You should have laughed a little quieter." Daniel read the message and nodded slowly, as if he understood perfectly. Then came the unexpected twist. A local newspaper called. Someone had tipped them off about my parents being sued by unpaid contractors. I declined to comment, but sent them a folder, emails, receipts, recordings of their lies about money while they spent thousands on luxuries. The story ran 2 days later. The headline, "Charity-focused family sued by small businesses. They owe $14,000. Word spread, church, Facebook, even local radio. Their carefully crafted image of generosity began to crack. 3 days later, my father stormed into the bank, demanding to prove he was the sole owner of the house. The manager pointed out he'd signed papers giving me joint access. He was escorted out, screaming about betrayal. Someone filmed it and posted it online with the caption, "When Daddy's credit hits rock bottom." It went viral. The texts and calls stopped. Silence. So I knew something was coming. A letter arrived at my cabin. No stamp, just my name on the front. Daniel found it taped to the door. Inside, my sister had written, "Congratulations. You finally destroyed us. Hope it was worth it. You'll hear from our lawyer." I laughed. They couldn't afford a lawyer. But the real surprise came that night. An old college girlfriend, Erin, called. She'd seen my name in the article and told me something chilling. 2 years ago, after my wife and son died, my parents had contacted her. They'd claimed I was spiraling and asked her to bring me back to stability. She'd found it strange. We hadn't spoken in years. Now it made sense. They'd been trying to control the narrative, painting me as unstable to protect their image. I told Daniel I was done reacting. It was time to take control. I hired a PR expert to draft a calm, factual statement about why I was cutting ties. I posted it on my blog, then paid to boost it. Within 48 hours, it went viral. People shared their own stories. Then Daniel made his own video. Simple, honest, and devastating. He spoke about growing up in a house where love came with strings. The video hit 500,000 views in 2 days. The final blow? My parents didn't own their house. I did. The trust was in my name. Daniel filmed as I handed them an eviction notice. "You have 60 days," I said. As I turned to leave, I showed them my phone, an email sent to everyone on my father's birthday guest list. The subject line, "A little clarification about that night." It linked to Daniel's video. I hit send in front of them, then walked away. 6 months later, my sister broke into the house, believing my parents' lies that I'd changed my mind. I called the police. A neighbor saw it all and wrote about it in the local paper. Now, the house is quiet. Daniel is studying psychology, and for the first time in years, Christmas doesn't feel so cold. If you enjoyed this story and felt the emotions behind it, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and heartfelt stories. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more content like this to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.